Today I'm going to go over what are the steps to buying a house. First thing you want to do is start saving for a down payment. Typically that's about 3 to 20%. It's about 3.5% for FHA. You can go as low as 3% on the conventional. If you want to avoid PMI, you put 20% down. That's private mortgage insurance, and it's just an extra thing that you have to pay for if you don't have 20% down. If you have a FHA loan, you can pay 3.5% down, and it'll have that additional payment in there, something other than PMI. If it's a VA loan or a USDA type loan, you can go as low as 0%. You want to plan for your closing costs. That's going to be probably about 2 to 5% of whatever that you're borrowing. You want to go and increase your credit score as much as possible because this is going to lower your interest rate. You can get your credit score checked. I have a video on this. Basically, you want to fix any errors, you want to dispute anything that's old or not being serviced anymore. You want to remove as much of the debt as you can. Basically, you just want to prop up the credit score as much as possible. You want to get above a 740 if possible. You're going to go and get a pre-approval for a mortgage. This is going to let you know what's the max that's allowed for what you're looking to borrow. If it's FHA, you're looking at about a 50% debt to income ratio. And if it's a conventional mortgage, a lot of lenders don't like to go above 36%. Some will go as high as about 43%. But remember, any of your debt on credit cards or student loans, car payments, things like that get added in as your debt to income. So if you can get rid of some of that debt, that also helps. You're going to want to find a buyer's agent. And they really need to know the area because real estate is local, and one block to another block can be a dramatic difference, especially if you live in a city. Why do I say buyer's real estate agent? Because the buyer agent has a fiduciary responsibility, which means they have your best interest when negotiating on your behalf. You do not want to walk into a showing to a home and the seller's agent says, "Oh, I could be your agent and sell you this house," because their responsibility is to the seller, not the buyer. So when you go to negotiate with them, they have all the information. It's kind of like you wouldn't go to court and ask the attorney that's prosecuting you to defend you because it's not in your best interest. You're going to want to look at houses. I use Redfin, Zillow. There's a whole bunch of different applications on the computer that you can look for houses. Your real estate agent will also send you houses as well. So a couple of things that you want to put in that list. What's the price? What's the transportation look like? Are there trains, or are you going to have to drive everywhere? Is it located next to work? What are the taxes on the property? Are the schools good? Is the house the same square footage or bigger that you want? Does it have enough beds, bathrooms? Is the house attached to other homes like a row home or something like that? Or do you want it to be detached where it's a single family home? Does it have a driveway? Is the driveway shared? Is the roof shared? Because sometimes with your neighbors, they may not keep up with their property and their problems could become your problems. Does it have a pool? Does it have a yard? I've known people that they've had disputes where one person was like, the pool's fine, and the other spouse is like, I don't really want a pool. Years later, a kid drowns in the pool, and guess what? They end up divorced, as well as their kid's dead. In terms of yards, I've known people where they were like, every house has to have a backyard, so they bought a house, didn't even look at the back of the property, and then realized there was no backyard. So just make sure you make a list of things that you have to have, things that you want, things that you will not live with. Also think about repairs. Is it a fixer-upper, or does it have to be move-in ready? Some people don't like steps. Some people, as we get older, they want a rancher. They don't want something with, 2 floors. So after you find a house that you think you like from all the pictures and description, just remember this is kind of like dating a house. They're only going to put up the best pictures. When you go there, you're going to see some things that you're like, wait a minute, they didn't tell me that that was an issue. So you're going to book a showing. You're going to walk through the house. I like to, when I look through the house, get an overall feel for the home. I used to build houses, so I look at things a little bit differently maybe. I'm going to look for any of the big money issues, such as the air conditioning, the heater, the roof, foundation. Look for things like that. Before I put an offer in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for the seller's disclosure for the property. This will give me a whole bunch of information on whether they had pets, were there leaks in the house, any repairs, did the repairs have permits pulled when they made the repairs, because those could become problems later on. This is important because once you make the offer, these items are off the table. They would have already told you in the disclosure, hey, these things are broken or these things have issues, and you made the offer knowing that there were issues with those items, so you can't use that as negotiating leverage later. So then you're going to make your offer. You're going to list out your contingencies, usually inspection, maybe mortgage, maybe title and appraisal. Those are pretty typical. Sometimes lately people have waived inspections and appraisals and things like that just because it's gotten crazy, but the housing market is starting to slow down, so these are coming back again. So inspection is basically you want to be able to inspect the property. If you find something you don't like, you can negotiate after this basically for a better price or for things to be repaired. Mortgage, if you don't qualify for a mortgage, you can pull out of the deal. Title, if there's something wrong with the title, you can pull out as well. And appraisal, if the house doesn't appraise for the agreed upon offer was, you can use that to renegotiate to a lower value for the home because it's been appraised at a lower value. When you make that offer, you got three outcomes. They're either going to accept the offer, and if they do, you're going to have to put in at least a 1% earnest money down payment on the house. This is basically just held by the seller, and if you walk away from the deal, they keep that money. If you want to show that you really want the house, you might put 2, 3, 5% down if you know you're going to buy it no matter what. Your offer is probably going to be a 30 to 60 day close. That's generally how long the mortgage company needs to actually go through this. Now, if you're a cash buyer, you don't have to go through this. It could be very quick. And you can also ask for seller assist. Seller assist would help with some of the closing costs that you have up there. The other option, they could say, we don't want this offer, it's too low, and they just outright reject it. But most of the time they either accept it or they'll counter that offer. And when they counter, they'll say, okay, we have a couple of other offers, give us your highest offer, and then we'll look at it. So that's something that's been common lately, but it's probably going away. So instead of a 30-day close, they might counter with, could we have a 60-day close, because they need to find a place to live. I've also seen people say that they wanted to stay in the home for several days after closing. I don't really like that because they might just end up staying there if they can't find a place. So I don't like people staying in the home after closing. Let's say they accepted the offer. The next thing is set up your inspection. You got to get the home inspected, generally where I live, in less than 10 days. We usually look for radon, termites, carpenter ants, any code issues, any repairs that need to be made. It just makes you aware of what's wrong with the home. And they're going to find a lot of stuff wrong with every home unless it's a brand new home, and even then, they'll probably find some issues. You can use this inspection report and you can negotiate the repairs, or you can get a credit for the repairs, basically lowering the price of the home. So then you're going through that renegotiation. So during the same time, as soon as you get the offer accepted, what you're going to want to do is shop for a mortgage. You can go with the mortgage company that gave you the pre-approval, but what you might find is if you just go through a mortgage broker, so that mortgage broker can go out in the open market and potentially find a better deal, better interest rate, less closing costs, things like that, than an individual lender. So I tend to contact one broker, and then I still have, if I can't find anything better, I have the pre-approval from the other company. You want to do this within a week, and I only look at fixed rate mortgages, anywhere from 15 to 30 years. Always keep in mind that if you go with a 15-year mortgage, that's the amount that you're going to be paying, and taxes go up each year, so, and same with insurance. I tend to go with a 30-year mortgage with fixed rate, because if I ever get laid off or something happens, I can go with that, base payment. But if I wanted to pay it off in 15 years, I just double the principal payment each payment, and that's easy enough. just gives me more options, especially for 30 years. The other thing that they're going to ask for when you get your mortgage, they're going to ask for your ID, usually driver's license, usually a social security number, at least 2 pay stubs. They want your bank accounts generally for about 2 months. And if you have anything that's a gift, they're going to want to say, okay, we need a letter from whoever gave you that money that's a gift, and it's not a loan that you're going to be repaying, because they want to know how much debt you have. If you're self-employed, they're probably going to ask you for your W-2s, probably from the past 2 years. It's harder to get a home or a loan when you're self-employed, or if you're like a bartender or a waitress or waiter or something like that, they also want to see W-2s, or a contractor or something. They want to know all the debt that you have, car loans, student loans, anything like that. Once you have your mortgage and you say, I'm going with this company, they're going to send out an appraiser. You're going to have to pay for the appraisal as well. What the mortgage company wants to know through an appraiser is what you've offered for the home, is the home worth that amount of money or more? And if it is, you're good. Now, if the appraisal comes down low, you have a couple of options. You can go back and negotiate a lower price for the home, or you may have to pay the difference out of pocket and then get the mortgage based on a lower value on the home. The last day, right before you go to closing, you're going to do a final walkthrough. You want to do this because you want to make sure that the people have moved out of the home and they didn't break or leave trash through the house. You never know if something flooded or there was a fire or something happened, so you want to know before you purchase that property. And it's also good a couple of times throughout this month or 2 months that you're waiting to go to closing, try to commute from the house that you're looking to buy. See, is there a lot of noise at night? Are there issues in the day, the morning, the night, things like that? So visit it a couple of times. Just walk around the surrounding area or take a drive. Just get to know the neighborhood. I always like to knock on doors and talk to the neighbors before I buy the property, because the other thing is I've had sometimes where like one of the neighbors is a bit crazy and they're going to be a problem. Well, I don't really want my family living right next to somebody that's going to be violent towards my family, so I want to know, can I get along with the neighbors in the neighborhood? Is it a normal area? So after my final walkthrough, I make sure that nothing's damaged, everything's out of the house that I wanted out of the house, nobody's living there. I'm going to go to closing. This is a whole bunch of paperwork that you're going to be signing. Sometimes it's like 100 pages or more. You're going to have to bring your check for your down payment. You're going to have to prepay a lot of the taxes, your insurance, the title insurance. You're going to have to pay usually a state transfer tax, and you're going to have that 2 to 5% closing costs on the home. Buying a house is quite a bit in the U.S. So this was actually something requested from a viewer. If you have any requests, please let me know in the comments below. I like to cover a lot of financial topics, such as how to buy real estate, how to make more money, how to save money, how to invest. So if you're interested, please subscribe. I'd like to help. Thank you for watching and have a great day.